Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we have a wide variety of topics to cover. Just to give everyone a heads up, I'm not really feeling that great this morning. I certainly feel like my body is trying to fight something off, but I didn't want to miss 2 uploads in a week, so I had to get something out today. But I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. While these clips are every bit as interesting as they always are, my commentary may fall a little short. I just can't get my brain to focus on anything other than how miserable I'm feeling. But I've got full confidence that this is still going to be a fantastic episode. But with all that out of the way, let's get after it.
The world is a stage, and it really feels as if we are being mocked with this Palm Beach Pete character, or Jeffrey. It really feels as if we are being mocked. Because it's honestly bizarre how this man has become famous pretty much overnight over a incident where he was seen driving a car looking like Jeff. Or the fact that he has his own private plane just like Jeff. Now, I'm not saying that he is Jeff. I'm not. But don't you find it bizarre how somebody is, profiting off of looking like a certain individual? Don't you find that bizarre? Or am I the only one out here finding this bizarre, how this man has become a celebrity pretty much for looking like a certain somebody? There is something weird going on with this, because again, ask yourselves this. Why is this man, pretty much blowing up out of nowhere? Why is he being heavily promoted on social media platforms? And I know it's ironic because I'm doing this video, but there is something off about all of this. What do you think?
Personally, I'm starting to really lean toward the theory that that's genuinely him. That he's created this character to play, so to speak, so that he can walk around and have a public life again. And they just figure they'll gaslight everyone into oblivion because who's going to know? Even the people who feel 100% certain that that's what's playing out right here, even those people aren't going to truly know for sure, because the only people who could do something about it to actually find the truth are the people who are running cover. But after you see this next clip, you'll understand why I'm increasingly leaning toward that being the actual Epstein. Some of the coincidences between these two guys just falls outside of reason.
Well, we now have, beyond a shadow of a doubt, absolute confirmation that President Trump and his administration during his first term staged and faked the Jeffrey Epstein so they could clear all of his charges. The man had a little cosmetic surgery. He goes by the name of Palm Beach Pete, according to this photo, which was taken of him driving his, luxury car in Palm Beach. And he has the same tattoo as Jeffrey Epstein. So what are the odds that the literally man that everybody in the world was calling Jeffrey Epstein and saying looks just like Jeffrey Epstein just magically lives in the same state as Epstein used to have a palace in, and then just happens to go by the name of Palm Beach Pete? Everybody knows Palm Beach Pete, right?
If that guy just simply fell within a specific age group, a specific age range, and I'm talking about people who were young adults in the late 80s, early 90s, that in itself would be a good enough explanation as to why he's got this tattoo. It seemed like 4 out of 5 guys when I was growing up had that stupid tribal or barbed wire tattoo around their arm. But the fact that his looks so similar to Epstein's, it's in the exact same place on the exact same arm. But when you add those coincidences along with the laundry list of other coincidences that's already piled against this guy, at what point do we say this can't simply be a coincidence anymore? But I think with this particular story, we have long since passed that point.
The Operation Underground Storage has begun. All the vehicles are moving in.
This is crazy.
Families moving into place. This is the mine where we're going to be held up for months. We're preparing, man. I told you. We had to get ready for what was coming. So
What's coming?
We've got our families and stuff. Food storage is good up. We're packed up pretty tight in here. But it's going to be good to go, man.
Some paradise.
All right. So we're getting loaded up. Everybody's moving in. We have different families in different sections. Right on. You gotta be prepared. We've reinforced this just in case of any blast up above.
Where y'all at so we can go?
Under a mountain here. You got to be ready for what's to come, people. And we are. Right on. Like I said, we're packed in there a little bit tight. We're going to make this work. About 400 families down here.
400?
All right, here we go. Wish us luck.
I want to go.
Take cover while there's still time.
I know I'm always looking for that angle that no one else is seeing, and that honestly may be all I'm doing here, but something about that footage seems very off to me. To have that many campers and RVs all crammed into what looks like an underground storage area, and with his claim that there's over 400 families down there, where was the rest of the noise? Where was the sound from all the people? There would be little kids running around. There would be at least a couple of different guys wandering around who didn't pay attention during orientation, who are trying to figure out what they're supposed to do next. When you're talking about a group of over 400 families, there's at least a couple of those guys in there. But if I had to put money on this, I think this guy probably works at some underground storage facility. He just happens to be in the section where they're parking a lot of campers, and he was just simply down there one day when it occurred to him, this looks very post-apocalyptic. This looks just like the stuff they show us on TV. I bet if I just filmed this and told everyone on the internet that we're down here trying to escape the apocalypse, everyone will believe it. But that's what I'm betting is going on. I think this is probably just a flat-out hoax. What do y'all think about it?
You're not going to believe what Mexico is doing to all 170 plus million citizens come June 30th, 2026. So they're rolling out a law right now that is going to make it mandatory for anybody with a phone, registered or unregistered, to get that phone registered, or they will not have cellular data anymore. They also are implementing a biometric identification. Even if you're a foreigner going to Mexico, you will have to link your passport to that phone number and prove it to the Mexican government that it is in fact your phone number. Now they're saying that this is to fight crime and fraud, etc. However, this is a massive invasion of people's privacy and security, because once you have to provide all of your biometric data over to a government, what's to say that that government doesn't like you in the future, maybe for your political leanings, and they just come to your door and take you out? If you're going to trust their government, well, just look in history at all of the governments have done that without the advantage of biometric ID. Please, Mexico, don't be this one.
And here's something that I'm betting a lot of people have never really stopped and taken into consideration. Imagine they got a 100% cooperation rate with this biometric ID. So now they've got the entire population's DNA, and all this data is fed into their system. But they could literally dig into that data and start making determinations. For example, let's say there's a big political narrative and the vast majority of the population's buying it, but there's a good 20% who just ain't hearing it. Well, once everyone's being tracked with biometric ID, they're going to know who that 20% is. And then they can compile a list of the entirety of that part of the population, put it into their system, check it against all these different known genetic anomalies, and the odds are in their favor that they're going to find something that would, if released out into the public, eliminate roughly 80% or more of that entire portion of the population that's not going along with the narrative. And if that meant that it got a few people from their good group, so be it. It's still a means to an end. And they're not really going to be concerned with the so-called good group either. They're really only concerned with themselves. But I'm betting that concept or idea is one of the many tools that they intend to use in the future to keep us all under control. If we ever did allow these elites to collect the entire population's biometric information, we would really be screwed. I don't think there'd be a way to come back from that.
Okay, so explain to me why it is that when you make a video talking about how the elites and higher ups are worshiping Satan, babies, doing ritualistic sacrifices, and just straight demonic in talking about demonic symbolism, that video goes viral and you get tons of algorithm support. Talk about how they have to do it and they have to put things right in our face because of karmic retribution. Viral. Then you make a video talking about how they're not worshiping Satan and they don't worship the devil and the demonic symbolism is intentionally put in your face for other reasons. That video gets no views and the algorithm won't push that video. When the ones who are supposedly doing these satanic rituals are the ones who are in control of this app and the algorithm. Why would they intentionally be pushing the devil worshiping videos but suppressing the people who are saying they're not worshiping the devil? Any video I have talking about satanic symbolism or babies or any of that, viral. Hidden in plain sight, Freemasons, all of that, viral. This is the most censored app. Why wouldn't that be labeled misinformation and taken down? Never mind get pushed and go viral, unless it's exactly what they want all of us to think. Because if you believe that they're worshiping Satan, then that furthers your belief in God, in religion. And Christianity is the agenda right now. Now go watch the video before this one. Notice how it's getting no views, even though I said, no, they're not devil worshippers. Because what I'm saying is straight facts, and they don't like that.
I'd say that's definitely a unique, interesting take. The idea that pushing Christianity as the new agenda is one of the most absurd things I've ever heard. If that were the case, then it wouldn't be such a big problem to allow your kid to pick out their own show on Netflix, for example. But I think probably, as far as this goes, that it's likely the most obvious explanation is the correct explanation. Yes, they have algorithms that they will use to try to suppress certain information. I've been feeling lately like it's being used against me. But I think that it really still mostly comes down to how interesting and engaging is the content. But when you're making videos like the ones you were talking about, where the point of the video is to expose some big lie or some corrupt narrative, people are going to be more interested to watch something like that, knowing that they're likely about to find out some new information. But when you make your on the opposite end of the spectrum test video, and the point of the content is that there are none of these things happening within our elite structures, that there is no Satanism and there are no trafficking issues going on, I would say anyone who's actually genuinely interested in knowing the answer to a question like that, if they've done 5 minutes worth of research, they've already gotten their answer. They know that these elites are involved in that stuff, so they're probably not watching that video because it feels like intentional misinformation. But the idea that these elites are not Satanists, but they want us to think that they are, and that's why the algorithms push the things they push. I don't typically like to shoot down other people's theories without at least heavily considering them first. And the logic behind what you're explaining may be going on is sound logic. That is certainly the way they've behaved in the past when trying to control a narrative. But anything more than that simple idea, it just doesn't make any sense. It makes much more sense that they are involved in those things and they want this information out there so that they can deny it and lie to our face. Because after a point, after so much evidence has come out, there will likely be an actual shift in public perception. They'll be able to start arguing with, as long as this information's been out in the public, you don't think that if there was really something to it, all these people will be locked up right now? You don't think there would have been proper investigations? And then they'll just deny the whole thing. But then they'll use that little bit that sounds like logical sound reasoning, and they'll sweep this whole thing under the rug.
Okay, NASA just got exposed. 20 hours ago, they posted this image of the galaxy from April 7th, 2026. They say Artemis 2 took the picture. When you reverse image search it, it comes up that they already posted this image of the galaxy in 2008, okay, on multiple sources all over the place and originating from NASA. So you'd think if you were in space, you wouldn't need to use an image from, 15 frickin' years ago. You could just literally put your cell phone up to the window and take a new picture of the galaxy, or whatever GoPro fisheye lens they have going on. But do this yourself so you know this isn't, Grok's AI even confirms it, by the way.
This doesn't make any sense to me how they think they're going to keep this narrative going. Even people I know of that were really excited about this Artemis 2 launch, even those people are starting to question it now. Just think about it. It's 2026. They send a manned mission to circumnavigate the moon, give them all permission to take their own personal cell phones with them. They've been gone for more than a week, and still the only photos they're giving us have clearly been doctored or aren't even new photos. But for anyone who's still trying to defend NASA, for anyone who's still arguing that we legitimately placed 4 astronauts in space to send them around the moon, but for the people who are still defending NASA at this point, what kind of hardcore, beyond a shadow of a doubt, concrete evidence do you need to see? Just how big would the evidence need to be for you to see that you're being lied to? Because they've literally given us an image of our planet that wasn't large enough to fit all of the known continents on it. You literally couldn't make bigger evidence. But most people look at it and go, interesting. This blows my mind.
I think we can all agree at this point that they are lying to us about Artemis 2, the recent space mission. Now, there was a couple weird things about this launch. They decided to do it on April Fools. Also, the rockets were 322 feet long, which is the number tied to Skull and Bones. If you read Genesis 3:22, it refers to the tree of life and living forever. They believe that one day, with enough power and money, they'll become immortal. There was an image of a NASA suit technician that has a clear tattoo of Baal on his hand. There are a lot of Masons inside of NASA. There was a clip that was circulating of the entire crew. They were visible on video, and suddenly a jar of Nutella flies in from behind the camera with perfect rotation to show the label. Now this, to me, looks like ad placement. Now there is a popular video of a plushie that was floating that's going viral. What people are saying is that there was no shadow, but the woman had a shadow over her hands. If you take the word NASA, it's one letter off of being an anagram to Satan. That's why they say T-1 minute, etc., wherever they're at. They name all their rockets after pagan gods, all of them. But if you check the roots of NASA, the person who built the rockets NASA sent to space was Jack Parsons. He claimed he was the Antichrist, he was deeply involved with the occult, and he says he was self-taught the schematics of the rockets by mythical beings through sex magic. Now, a lot of people think that space is fake, and that the Earth is flat, and that everything revolves and moves around it. Now, the main argument for them is NASA's doing this to basically push a godless agenda. I think it's more of something like they want to do this cheaply and then pocket the surplus of money. They have gotten $650 billion in funding since inception in 1958. If you adjust that with current inflation, that's close to $2 trillion. So currently, every single day, they receive $68 million US. They believe that in between us, you got water below us, and you got water above us, and it's us in the middle. So space is water. And there has been projects where they've tried to break out the firmament. Operation Fishbowl happened, and that was their attempt on nuking the firmament.
I would say that it's highly likely, or at least that the odds are stacked in his favor in regards to there being someone involved in the NASA plan that was simply in it for money. And that makes sense, and if you really stop and think about it, there would be no better grift than to lie and tell people there's this entire part of reality over here that we can all see, but no one can touch it except for our special scientists. And if y'all just give us nearly $70 million a day from here throughout eternity, we'll investigate it and we'll let y'all know what cool stuff we find. So yeah, I'm sure right at its inception, it was recognized that this would be a great way to put some extra money in someone's pocket. But this is 110% about trying to hide God. They like the money and the power, and that's why they're doing all of this, is just greed and trying to fuel their own pride. But their ultimate end goal is to just spit in the face of God. And knowing that God created man in his own image, and therefore has a certain level of compassion and care for us. Basically, the only way that these people can bring true harm to God is to misdirect all the souls that he intends to go to heaven to be with him. Now, they can't do this. God's elect is God's elect. If he decides he's chosen you, then he's chosen you. But I have absolutely no doubt that the main reason that they're trying to tell us that we live on a spinning ball is just so they can hide the fact that we have a creator. Because when you look up at the night sky and you see that everything else as far as the eye can see is just balls and balls of light, it will be very difficult to explain how our flat, non-rotating, disc-shaped planet ended up getting here. There could only be one explanation. There was a creator.
Well, they did it. They built a quantum AI in China, and it predicts the weather, and it outperforms classical AI. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand how it works. Hi, I'm Giga Qian. I do business in China, and I tell you guys about major breakthroughs like this before anyone else does. And more importantly, I want to wish every single one of you a very happy Easter. This just happened, at the University of Science and Technology in Hefei, which is the capital of China's Anhui province. In the West, and really around the world, people think the key to improving AI is scaling. We want more layers, more nodes, more data centers, more power. But China did it with 9 atoms, so it really wasn't about power. What was the secret then? It sounds rather poetic, but it was in learning to forget. But before we break that down, let's talk about the hardware. It was a quantum reservoir computer. To explain reservoir computing, I'll use a classic metaphor. Imagine pouring different colored dyes into a tank or reservoir of water. The water then swirls and mixes the colors together, creating complex patterns. But if you're smart about how you observe this, you can determine what colors went in and predict what's going to happen next. So the water is the reservoir, and it obviously doesn't need training. It just needs to be chaotic enough to create patterns. What you train is the readout. You can think of this as which ripples matter. Which brings us back to the 9 atoms. They naturally interact in complex ways. But what about the learning to forget? Okay, here's the genius part. If you've been following me, you know environmental disturbances usually destroy quantum calculations. The systems are noisy. But what if you could use that noise? Weather calculations need fading memory. That means you need to remember recent data clearly, but you need to gradually forget the old data. There's a lot going on, and you don't want the system to get overwhelmed. But you also don't want to forget too fast and lose important context. If you really just think about how weather works in your own observations, this makes sense. Quantum noise creates this fading effect. The system loses information in a smooth, predictable way. Think about like an echo when you scream and your voice slowly reverberates into oblivion. So this noise becomes the memory management system. So I'm not telling you the infinitesimal can replace the grandiose. This is about a new way to build AI for time series tasks, and the implications are profound. Instead of constantly fighting the mind-bending dynamics of quantum physics, you are now actually extracting value from them. And if time series sounds boring to you, I know we've already discussed weather. Sensor data probably won't pique your interest. How about stock trends? After all this time, it really is like Bruce Lee said, be like water.
I can't help but to recall all of the clear and obvious signs of their daily weather modification that we've been seeing now for several years. If they had never messed with the atmosphere, then this new weather prediction model may be groundbreaking. But now all these readings they've been taking over the last, at least the last handful of years, is going to have messed up data in it. Like they're looking for patterns, like how does the atmosphere react to specific currents of hot air or cold air moving through. Or they may be able to look at like the 10 largest hurricanes that we have on record and see, okay, what was the moisture percentage in the air 24 hours before they started. They may see a pattern there, something that tells them in advance one of these huge horrific storms is about to hit. But with all this fake data that's going to be in there because they're adding all these chemicals to the sky, how is this thing possibly going to be accurate? Unless, of course, they've been adding that information as new data, as an external force interacting with the atmosphere. But you just wait. This information will be weaponized. They'll start telling us, look how accurate these prediction models are now. We can predict down to the second what's going to happen, how large the storm's going to be, how severe it's going to be. And then when they start telling people that there's only 10 to 15 years to do something about the the global sea rise, then they'll really have people in a panic. Then they'll really be able to pass some of these climate change laws. Then they'll really have their hands in our pocket. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. God willing, I'll be back soon with another one. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to click like and leave a comment if you'd like to increase the chances of my future uploads showing up in your YouTube feed. Just simply subscribing doesn't really do anything for the algorithm anymore. But guys and gals, just in case I don't see you again until Monday, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, a phenomenal weekend, and I will see you all in the next one.